ever worried that you might be the cool kid? You wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends. Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream? Always so generic, more normal than your friends. Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can sleep easy after all that you've heard. Cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. Tyler, Phil, and Boris. So Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
It's Monday, and you know what that means? It's time for a new episode of the It's Canon podcast, a show where we chat about all things geek, all things everything, and the best part of it all is that it's all in canon. We're hosts, I'm Boris, and this week I am joined by Phil.
We're not dead yet. We came back. we just had a little break.
Barely. Some of us are barely surviving.
But we're here. We're here now. And thank you for joining
For now.
us.
How's it going, Phil?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Busy week. It was a very busy week. Honestly, it's my bad. I completely forgot to tell everyone that I was going away last week and going away to the point where I can't do shit. So that's why we missed last week. And I guess it was for the best. I feel like everyone wasn't feeling the best last week. But we're back this week with a new episode of the It's Canon podcast. And we have tons to talk about. At the same time, we have nothing to talk about at all, which is always one of those funny episodes. But here we are. Tyler, hope you're doing well. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a fun week or a couple weeks of watching the internet deal with The Mandalorian, which I know will be something we broach upon, as well as just getting ready for May the 4th. You know, being the big fan of Star Wars that I am, I'm looking forward to some of the stuff, and I've had to make some preparations. I've decided not to buy my Hasbro Black Series Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet, and instead belay that purchase when the 332nd Division helmet comes out, the one with the Ahsoka Tano paint job, since I think that one's the cat's ass. So I'm going to get on that one. And otherwise, you know what? I got so many troopers, dude. I love them. But I've got so many troopers. I don't even have one on display here. That's how many. I do have 3 more. So it's 3 more of those troopers, a few Boba Fett's. It's crazy collecting some of this stuff because there's only so much space, and I'm hitting that wall now. So, yeah, you better get ready too, because Lego is going all in on the Flash movie.
I know.
So, 1989 Batmobile is coming up, baby.
But you know me. Unless it gives me a chubby, unless I go from 6 to 12, I don't buy stuff anymore, man. And it sucks just because even today. So I had my nephews today, and I took the older one, Alex, who listens to us all the time. We went for a walk and by this collectibles store, and we went inside and blah 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 blah. And then when we were leaving, I saw this Hot Wheels 1989 1/18th sized Batmobile 1989. And I'm like, it did make me go from 6 to 12, but it's just one of those things. I can't justify anything. I cannot justify these purchases, and it pains me. And it's not that I can't make them. It's even the room, because I don't have much. It's just after what happened to me in the flood, I'm no, I just can't. It hurt me so much. It hurt me that much that I just can't.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Knock on wood. I don't have anything bad happen to my collection like that. But it's just, there is a point at which you got to just kind of haul the reins in. And especially with, as we've all noted, inflation, the cost of food, the cost of gas. things like that. Things are not getting cheaper, and neither are those helmets. So I'm looking at it going, you know what? Maybe spreading that purchase out over some of those Commander Cody or Commander Rex Lego helmets, which are a little bit smaller and tickle the itch. Or as well, possibly like there's just so much to collect, even with me, with myself making the choice to refine down to Lego Star Wars. There's so much of it. There's just so much. There's the Executor Star Destroyer coming out, the Super Star Destroyer coming out in MIDI scale. That's going to be $100 Canadian. The Emperor's Throne Room diorama is 130 Canadian. It's just overwhelming at a certain point, and you want to get them all, right? You want to build them, even though I'm not building that much right now, but I do get joy out of that. And yeah, there's only so much space, only so much.
There's only so much space, right? And then like it comes down to what do I do with it then, right? Like look at your background. Where are you going to put everything? Where are you going to display things, right? Like
I've got a separate Lego display, but or a few displays, but what I end up doing ultimately, the great thing about Lego is you can take it apart, put it in a bag, put the instructions in there. Boom. You get later on, I'm sitting there going, you know what? I should build Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter again with that ring. I have it in storage, right? I'm like, I should go and unziplock bag that and put it together because it had some verticality. And that's something that I look for in a lot of Lego sets. They release these ships that are low. And I like things that are big and have vertical space and draw the attention. Right.
Yeah.
So there are some sets coming out, like it did leak some of the sets coming out. And I guess the biggest one is the Ghost is going to be coming out later this year for Ahsoka. And as well, something that you might like is Coruscant, the dropship.
Yeah.
The Clone Troopers dropship in red with Commander Fox.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
That might be interesting. That's a great one for Lego to do because people are only going to buy one of those versus going and buying like 4 or 5 white ones and having the problem that they're having with the ATTE tank with demand going out the roof. This will calm demand and just mean that they can do different troop bastions and get people to buy 1 or 2 to do army building. So it's an interesting approach, and I hope they stick to it because it seems to be a good way to plan the set release.
Yeah. Question. I'm not even paying attention to what you're saying. I'm joking. That the helmet beside Vader. What is that?
Beside Vader? That's
beside
Trapper
Vader.
Wolf. That's
okay.
Trapper
That's what
Wolf.
I thought. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure, but yeah, that's a good one. I like
Dave
that one.
Filoni, man. That one's it's hard to find on the internet right now, but it is at our Toys R Us's. They seem to have a glutton of them sitting on the shelf.
Like we say every time that we even mention the name Toys R Us. Yes, we still have them in Canada.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, Trapper Wolf from The Mandalorian, and it's probably my favorite because it's an old style Luke style helmet, the TIE fighter helmet. I have a newer one, the New Republic one. And I don't like that style as much as I like this. Put it that way.
Yeah.
This one gets the feels going.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
Carson Teva needs to have a helmet out. Then I'll buy that one and put that up.
Yeah. Have you rotated them? I feel like it's a new rotation of helmets you can have back there.
No, I decided to leave them this week because of the Mandalorian behind me and Bo-Katan being there, but I'm going to cycle in a Shock Trooper soon. There's some weird ones that I have that were EB exclusives and things like that. So they're going to be switching up a little bit. I've got multiple Darth Vaders. This is the Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader. Which is a little bit more accurate.
Here's the thing. Like I mentioned, I went to that hobby store earlier today. I was so close to forking out money on buying a Green Ranger helmet.
Oh, right on. Yes. The Green Ranger.
So close. It would have been right there, right where I'm pointing. right where the Batman the Animated Series Blu-rays are, and my what is it?
Go
Pac-Man
do it.
mini arcade, right there,
Treat
right in
yourself.
front of the Mandalorian Lego.
Yeah, treat yourself, man. It would look great back there.
Because it's funny because you can't see it, but I have the Green Ranger dagger behind the
Well,
painting
there you
or
go.
yeah.
Man, oh man, I would get on it if I were you. If you sleep on that stuff, it's not good. It's when you sleep on it, it goes away and
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 then
then
you
the collectors get in there, right?
yeah, I
And
know. And
you
then you
know,
get that like not, what's the opposite of buyer's remorse? Dread,
ugh, yeah,
existential dread.
yeah, that settles in sometimes. I had to throw out a bunch of boxes. I was so sick of having all these boxes. I'm like, forget it. I've opened the Funko Pops. I'm not putting them back in a box. The
See,
boxes need to go. Clean up time.
I wish you can see it properly, but I have the TIE Fighter. The Lego TIE Fighter is actually probably my favorite thing back there.
Yeah, there's a new one coming out on May 4th for
Yes.
UPS. And it's a chubby boy, but it's pretty accurate in its dimensions. So I'm eyeing that one up. Believe me, that there's a reason why I had to cut the $200 helmet, and it might be for the $200 X-wing, and then getting the Death Star buildable Death Star 2 and the Death Star card. So there's a bunch of free gifts with purchase that coming up on May 4th that have leaked. I think
That's
Lego have
cool.
officially announced them now. So it's so tough this time of year though. I gotta say, as fun as it is, Lego get absolutely walloped. They don't ship at a half decent rate anymore because they're just so swamped. But as well, like it's forcing everything into a channel. And that's financially kind of stupid. I wish that they'd extend these promos to be a little bit longer than the few days that they go because their website crashes. Like it's just a mess, man, because people are just so. And the thing is that people are getting multiples of these free gifts with purchase because you can break up your purchases and they save up all of their purchases. And I'm not really talking about anybody in particular, but the people that turn around and sell it on eBay and Kijiji and Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. I'm kind of getting tired of that where it's like it's like those would be the same people that complain about the PS5 shortages and scalpers. And then you know what I mean? Like be the one scalping a PS5 if they could anymore. So
Yeah.
it's it's not right. It should be if you want to collect it, collect it. If you want to have a few for later sales or whatnot, but don't try to capitalize on it because I see the marketplace go from it enters, then it skyrockets because of demand, and then it dies. An example of this would be I wanted the Lego Spaceman with the little baby space person to
Yeah.
finish off that minifig set. And that one I bought it for $20 off of eBay. And then I found a guy who's selling it around the corner from me for $5 because the demand dropped. And he's just like, "Oh, I'm looking for $5." So I'm
Amazing.
like, I'm the idiot that bought it.
Yeah, it's collecting. It's such a hard game, man. Such a hard game.
It is.
But you know what? Here's the thing, though. I honestly feel, and I feel like we should do a whole episode about this. That these companies like Lego and Mattel and Hasbro and all these stupid companies, they do it on purpose. They
do.
You know, they fuck with us, for lack of a better term.
There
So
is
then-
a guy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So then, everything becomes a collector's item, and everything lives through the second market, right?
Yeah, there is a guy on YouTube that actually runs a toy store. And he kind of gives you the business about what's going on. And he's like, Hasbro are specifically changing their plans. And they've basically screwed themselves in the marketplace by making figures too expensive. So they're reducing the quality to get the price down, but they're not going to flood the market with it. So it's going to artificially inflate based off of demand
Yeah.
because you can't get certain guys. You won't be able to walk into a store and see the guys because you just can't. They don't ship in the ways that they would ship before. It's like hunting down variant covers, right? It's
That's a stupid game to get into, and I fell for it for a little bit, but then I'm like, wait a minute, you know what? I don't care. Everyone wants that J. Scott Campbell variant cover, right? Everyone wants those covers. Everyone wants like remember when the New 52, their evil month, and they had all those Batman the Joker covers and stuff.
Yeah, they did the
I was an idiot. Those are like just again, it hurts me. It all hurts me. But yeah. It's all made for us to like fight over each other for these things, and man, I don't know about you, but I am so uncomfortable right now.
Uncomfortable with what?
Oh, I just cannot get comfortable as I'm doing this show.
Oh my god, no!
And I hate it because I'm trying not to fidget too much. Now that people can see us, and it's just like I can't find something that works.
I've got my chair dialed. I have to sit here all day at work, so this just feels like I'm at the job.
Dude, that's the problem. Is I sit here all day. Well, I try to move around, right?
Sometimes,
yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, I hear you. That's why I have the water, man.
Sure, that's just water.
Yep, just water. I piss like
it's just water
after each episode.
Right? It's hilarious. Like sometimes I go through like 3 bottles as we're recording, and I'm like, number one, I just gotta get the water bottle. It's 10 feet from me. Happy Earth Day, everyone.
Yes, happy Earth Day.
Speaking of Earth Day, I don't know. This is the worst segue ever, but it just reminded me. So a couple programming notes. We're gonna talk about the Mandalorian season finale a little later. A couple gotchas, a couple ha-has. But we are gonna be doing our deep dive into season 3 of the Mandalorian. Not exactly 100% sure when that's gonna be coming out, but it's gonna be coming out probably in the next couple weeks. So we have that, and I think. We've decided on a time for us to go live each and every single week, and either going to be 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. Again, gotta think of Tyler, so I think 7 p.m. is the realistic time.
Yeah, I think 7 is going to work a lot better for him. And we'll be trying to keep the episodes to about an hour, right? Like in that ballpark. If we go over, we go over. But
the specials will always be a little longer, but the weekly episodes, we're going to try to keep it to around an hour-ish. Depends how much tomfoolery we get ourselves into.
Yes, it depends on how many rabbit holes we can open up.
Yep. So what have you been watching? What have you been playing? What have you been reading?
Getting ready for Dead Romans issue 2.
Yes, that's coming out this Wednesday. I think I saw that Fearless Fred himself is going to be at Gotham Central in Mississauga at Free Comic Book Day.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that. I'm basically doing a little bit of gaming, spreading my gaming around on the PS5 and the Xbox. And I'm getting ready for Jedi Survivor.
Woo! Same here.
That's this Friday.
I actually pre-ordered it.
I'm going to pre-order it on Thursday. So I'll download it Thursday night while I sleep.
I'm doing physical, right? So
yeah, I did physical for Zelda. So I've got
Zelda May 12th. Oh yeah, I can't wait for that one.
It's a video gamey time of year. But I have cut down a little bit on the gaming and whatnot. But, still doing my Forza Horizon 5. I've been watching, working my way through Tetris. Ted Lasso, Mandalorian has occupied a lot of bandwidth with me just because I'm doing a lot of, not over-analysis, just analysis. There's just trying to catch every little detail so everything's set in my head for when we do that episode. But yeah, it's mostly been on that because it's been a big couple weeks for the shows. And I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso last week.
It was single-handedly my favorite episode of the series.
Yeah, I've seen some people dogging it, but I'm like, I
People
think that
are gonna
is
dog everything at this point. I'm
everything. Yeah,
sorry.
I think it was one of the best episodes I've ever seen of Ted Lasso.
In my
And
opinion, it's bringing the show full circle.
yeah, it does what Shrinking does, to 3 seasons of Ted Lasso, and it's only midpoint in the season, I guess, because all other seasons have been 12 episodes, and that's the 6th. As well, though, it reminded me, and this is something between, like, you and I will probably relate to better than a lot.
Total
It
football,
reminded me of, well, with the total football and everything, it reminded me of our time with Aaron Vinter and Bob DeClerc at
100%.
TFC. And just that whole vibe of Danny Kuvermans and the Dutch vibe came across very well for me. And the fact that they were both involved with Ajax, and this was the club that they were doing the friendly with, was just a chef's kiss for me, because I just thought that they nailed the Dutch way of being very direct. They got it down in that episode, and I don't think the characters all were ready to deal with it. So it kind of pushed them out of their comfort zone, and I enjoyed that very much. I enjoyed Coach Beard in this. I enjoyed Jamie and Roy doing the bike thing. Everything about it was just, yeah, chef's kiss. And there's Alex.
Yeah, there's
Yay.
Alex. Good stuff, kid. Yeah, dude, that episode of Ted Lasso honestly got a lot of feels, like you said. It, in this weird way, it brought me back to when we were doing our thing with the RPB, right? Like it
Yeah.
really did bring me back to that and those crazy memories. Yeah, but Coach Beard was just amazing in that episode. Everything. I just love how all the relationships are forming and like really like, expanding, and you're kind of, I have ideas of where this season is going to go,
Yeah,
but
me too.
you're not sure. You're not quite
You're not
sure.
sure. It can go. It's still tipped on a bit of a razor blade, right? Like they've given us the insight with the psychic, but you don't know which way it's gonna go. I'll tell you though, the Piggy Stardust was killer from Coach Beard,
That was gold.
and pineapple percussions. That call out had me on the floor. I was just like, "Oh, you're in the doldrums." I just thought that was excellent humor, and that's the kind of humor that gets me going. So,
Yeah, it's so
oh,
weird how that show like just really does like that personal experience that we've had bring out a lot of these stuff. That's really why I enjoy it, right? Like, yeah.
I did watch Ant-Man Quantumania.
All right, go for it.
Trippy. That was the trippiest. I I know that I heard you and Tyler talking about it, non-spoiler review, and I that was a busy movie.
It
That was a
was. A
really
lot was
busy
going on.
movie.
Way too much was going on at times.
Yeah,
But you see what I mean? It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad.
wasn't bad either.
It wasn't Thor. It wasn't Doctor Strange, but it wasn't
Yeah.
good either.
And I don't know, but they're gonna have a problem with Jonathan Majors right now if this if this situation doesn't get
Bill?
better soon.
Some would say they have a majors problem.
That's for sure. I saw the news last week that Jonathan's PR team and management group have dropped him now. And
He's
you know that Disney are having meetings in the background. It doesn't need to be said by Disney or speculated by anybody on YouTube or a podcast or anything. Disney's having meetings and they're trying to figure this out. Now they did announce a Loki 2 season 2 date. So, wow, okay, so they're going ahead with that. They're not going to reshoot it or anything, as far as I can tell. And obviously, they are also, the headlines for Disney are that they are cutting back on production costs and cutting corners and whatnot. So you know that they're not just going to slap down a bunch of money to have somebody CGI'd in or something like that, or reshoots going. if it's in the can, it's in the can at this point, I think, because, well, look at Mandalorian. The rumors are galore about that and production costs being cut, hence the poor writing. But my goodness, what a mess Disney are in right now.
Yep.
Thank you, Bob Chapek.
This is the. I know, right? They laid off another 4,000 people today.
Yeah, they have 7,000 that they need to cut. Today they cut like 4, I think. So there's 3,000 more that have been announced that just haven't gotten their notice.
Well, Phil, who else is going to be creating such phenomena like remakes of remakes of remakes?
I know, right? It's Little Mermaid live action, baby. There's a new Peter Pan live action movie. I'm like, there's all kinds of remakes of remakes of remakes. Like, whew. The amazing part is the only people who made more news today than some of this stuff was the fact that Fox News got rid of Tucker Carlson and CNN got rid of Don Lemon on the same day.
Yep.
Like, what? So, go figure. Yep. Like, noon had come along, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this day is just wow.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, but with the whole Jonathan Major stuff, we'll see what happens. Don't want to make any assumptions. We're not making any assumptions. But we'll see what happens and what Disney decides there. But speaking of remakes upon remakes upon remakes, you have WB Discovery, announcing that they're making, the Harry Potter series that's going to last 10 years.
Yeah. My gosh. Well,
didn't they also announce that they're doing like a Twilight series?
I guess so. I don't. At this point, when they announce stuff, I don't believe it until I see it anymore, because of how things become vaporware, right?
Well, look at Disney.
Video games.
Disney.
Exactly. They cancel projects. They get people locked in. They make these big splashy announcements. They notify people and they go, get your excitement candy ready because this is going to be trippy and fun and a remake and a revisit and all this stuff. And then they're like, it just didn't work out. Writing wasn't good enough. The directors didn't follow instruction. That type of thing. So yeah, Star Wars has hurt me. And Warner Brothers is in the HBO house, which I don't know. What are they called now? Max? Like, they changed the name again. Like, the moniker that we put on things that people know instantly has integrity, like HBO presents The Last of Us. Let's just call it Max now. So nobody knows what the hell's going on.
It sounds like if Brazzers was making a subscription service just called Max.
Just Max.
Speaking of Brazzers and subscription services and WB Discovery and all that fun stuff, Netflix has added 1.75 million subscribers in Q1. I have to honestly admit, I am shocked. Wasn't everyone canceling Netflix? Wasn't everyone saying fuck Netflix? Clearly, that wasn't the case. And this is the thing, right? Going back, we have this discussion all the time. Anger, outrage, and, this and that. And Netflix actually adds to their subscription. They had a 4.9% year-over-year increase compared to last year's challenging first quarter, where they actually lost subscribers. This increase of subscribers has brought them to 232.5 million subscribers.
Well, I think it's a combination of the fact that they are sewing shut the password exploit and they have an affordable option in the ad tier. I think when you combine those two things, that is kind of a sly play on what you can do to the marketplace. Now, there's going to be people who are angry at Netflix and continue to be angry at Netflix. But when Sandman season 2 drops, when, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these things, Squid Games, Squiddy 2 comes out, then people are going to be all over it, right? And they're putting a lot of Korean stuff on there, which is hitting well. Like, they're doing something right. I don't know that they do everything right all the time. I really don't. I know they don't. But the things that they do get correct, seem to be, you know, good, like Cyberpunk last year. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
The League of
people are,
Legends show. What's that?
yeah,
What's that one called?
Arcane or whatever.
Arcane, yeah.
Yeah, like
Which I have yet to watch.
I've seen the first episode and it was good. So it's just a long first
Yeah.
episode.
Just remember, we invested our time into the Transformers show.
Yeah, that's true. We were the other three guys.
Watched it, yeah. So I can hear some yelling. No, Boris, people in Canada and the US are upset. They're the ones who cut. No, you know what? Canada and the US added 100,000 total subscribers during the quarter.
That's because the Canadians wanted The Office back.
Yeah, it's not on. We don't have Peacock, right? So it's still on Netflix here.
Yep, exactly. I went and checked the other day. I was curious. Yeah, it's true though. People are doing it here. I'm telling you, man, the fix is on. People need their.
Here it is. The Latin American region, Viva la Raza, they underperformed. They lost 450,000 subscribers during the first quarter.
Oof.
And remember, they dropped prices there too.
Yeah, the model doesn't work in that market then.
I'm just going to upvote that. Upvote. Boom. Boom. Shagalaga. Speaking of Netflix, so this is kind of like the way I wanted to segue this story, and I didn't know when we were going to talk about this, and this is a perfect time to talk about this. So, you know how we've always had this discussion about streaming services and canceling a fucking streaming service and how, like, they get you because you forget or they make it impossible and they, like, it's in menus upon menus upon menus upon menus, and then you have to, like, accept the email, put in some blood, donate your left kidney, share your left testicle on TikTok or something, right? Like, they make it so impossible for you to cancel your subscription services. So there is a bill in the U.S. government that's starting to go around that's going to essentially, I doubt it's going to go forward too much because it is the U.S., but it's, and I could see this happening in Europe, but it is to make it easier and forcing companies an easy route for you to cancel your subscription.
I hope it happens because, like, here would be my nightmare scenario. I've quit two things that I just really, really loathed their separation policy. Sirius XM radio was a nightmare to get rid of. A nightmare. You had to do exactly that. Send an email, approve the email, verify your email address again. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like back and forth. And then, oh no, to give this this number a call, you give that call, it's retention. They're like, we'll give you a year for $3. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I'm listening to all my stuff on Spotify. I get
what's
that
harder?
You're cycling everything, and I don't
getting
like it.
out of XM radio or getting out of your gym membership.
The gym membership's another. Manscaped is another. I know.
I forgot about that.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
You just have all these razors.
I'm just like, I got them to stop sending me the regular bald stuff, but I asked for a cologne. Why the hell would I order a cologne off of the internet?
Hold on. Like, for your body or for your balls?
For my body.
Okay.
Okay. So I ordered a cologne through them, and they knocked it down the first time. My card number has changed, and they still bill me, and they get it through. I don't understand. I have a new card.
Microsoft did that to me when I tried canceling my Microsoft Live subscription years ago when Mike was moving out. And I needed to not have a Microsoft Live subscription. I changed my credit card number. I changed cards, and they were still managing to charge me.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. So if somebody who has, access to Manscaped, because everything gets shipped. Okay, get this. Everything gets shipped from Las Vegas because that's where their warehouse is. All right. And when it comes across the border in Canada, not only is it slow as shit most of the time, they actually have to open it up and investigate it. Like, customs
Well,
is
it's
like,
razors.
because the dogs can't smell the cologne, or get this, I got fed up when they sent me ball wipes. All right, they're like the little wipes that you get at Kentucky Fried Chicken. They're called ball wipes. So I'm not being crude to get the laughter here. And it's just a moist towelette that apparently you're supposed to rub down there after you've maybe been, which is a good idea. Like, maybe you've gone out to the soccer game or the baseball game or whatever. You've been sitting in the hot sun all day, and you met somebody and you want to go out afterwards and things like that. You don't have time to go home and have a shower. You're already with them. This is something you can discreetly go to the washroom. Maybe make sure you're fresh, right? I gave one to my dad at the wedding. He didn't use it. But anyhow, that was for humor. But they had to
This is not a
open that.
commercial. Also, this
I
is not
know,
a commercial
this
for
is
any
not a
of this
commercial.
shit.
I do not endorse ball wipes, okay? So what
Boot you,
happened
though.
was but what happened was this ball wipe had to be opened, and obviously somebody had to go through and verify that the packing slip said ball wipes, that there was actually a product in there called ball wipes, right? Like, I'm just like, I'm mortified as to why my ball wipes are open, right? So
I, I,
I
this is where we're at, Phil. This is where we're
know.
at.
Yeah. So that's what it's like with these subscription services. I do everything, unfortunately, or fortunately,
I
I
love
do
how we
everything
lost the
with it.
listener, by the way.
Oh, oh no. Okay. Well, apparently they love Manscaped. Um, I do this thing with I just subscribe through Google, and I cancel it through Google,
Yeah.
and it just says subscription canceled, right? Like, as of this date, drop. So I drop my Marvel Unlimited through Google. If I drop Apple TV or whatever, I do it through my Apple ID. And it's just like,
Yeah.
boom,
Same
done.
here. I actually control my Crave subscription through Apple.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
You know,
Unfortunately, doing it direct, they can play these games. But if you do it, unfortunately, you have to pay more in some cases, because they add on the cost of being on Apple's platform. But they manage that cancellation. If you're going to bump around, pay the little bit extra to get the convenience of being able to bump the services.
so that's exactly it. So this is a nice little, tip for our friends who do bounce around. I have a bunch of friends who bounce around subscription services. 1 month they'll have Prime, 1 month they'll have Netflix, 1 month they'll do, Disney Plus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, like, the best way to do that is through a third party like an Apple or a Google or whatever, because you know that when shit's canceled, shit is canceled. You don't have to go through all these hoops, which is what this bill on the floor of the American government is trying to do. And I'm for this, right? Like, this is something, fuck with the extra taxing that we're getting here on, in Canada with all these American services and stuff. No, make it easier for us to cancel this shit.
Yeah, do something for the consumers. I'm always pro-consumer, because God knows, like, these corporations are not pro-consumer. They're pro-exploit. They're pro-consumer as long as they're getting your money, and they'll make your money hard to get to.
Yep.
So,
Speaking of Netflix, password sharings, and all the like, we're going to see and I quote, a broad rollout of their password sharing crackdown in Q2. It got slowed down in Q1 because they realized that they were breaking laws, but I think they've figured a few things out, and we're going to see a quote-unquote broad rollout of password sharing here in the Canada and the U.S. of A.
well, boo, but sure, I get it. I expect that we'll see more of a outrage and schism in the fan base, and then of reuptake of numbers to a degree. But it's their business. It's their business model. I just think it's really shady that they used to market it, that you could have your kid in university just hop onto your account because you could have 4 active streams on the highest tier. That was a marketing ploy. And I just think that that looks really bad. But I'm forever going to say that. I'm not going to agree with Netflix switching gears like that on people. It should be grandfathered. But hey, what do I know about customer retention and loyalty, right?
You just worked in that like your entire life.
I know, right? So
So, speaking of customer retention and loyalty, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been officially delayed yet again until February 2nd, 2024. All the rumors are pointing that this is to fix shit. That's a Boris quote. Use it all you want. But really, it's to fix a lot of the glaring issues that they found with the game. One of them being the live service aspect of Kill the Justice League.
good. Now they need to do the same thing with Redfall. Bethesda, right? Like, that's doing the same thing that Kill the Suicide Squad game is doing right now. That
Yep.
is just 30 frames per second, live service, connected to the internet all the time. People are pissed. Delay it 6 months. Fix your crap. You promised.
But okay, Phil, but okay. Like serious talk for once on this show.
Sure.
You know, we've talked about this for so long. We've talked about this just a few weeks ago in terms of, you know, the consumers needing to just smarten up. We just saw the Netflix numbers and all the outrage and anger, and people end up subscribing more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Consumers aren't changing their spending habits.
Nope. Despite all the news and all the doom and gloom, right, that goes on about having to make tough financial decisions, having companies make it easier for you to be angry and make those decisions, et cetera, we're still going out and eating more than ever. We're still spending our money, right? And it's just weird to me.
And in I
know there are
realm
some
of
who are having trouble. I know there are some people. I'm not clean of it. It's difficult for our household to manage.
But in the realm of video games, right? Like, people say, I'm not buying that. I'm playing that. Guess what? They are, right? And that's the thing. Like, always go back to consumers. You do have the power to force these companies to make changes, and that is showing it with your wallet or not showing them the wallet. But we do have someone on our side. That's a PS5 exec who goes by the name of Shuei Yoshida. And he essentially said live service games are, quote unquote, boring. So he doesn't want to see the future dominated by this.
Yeah, it's Square Enix needs to listen to that guy and stay away from it. But and Bethesda does too with this Redfall thing. It's pish. It's garbage. And the one thing is, I will say, one of the biggest godsends that exists on the Xbox side of things is Game Pass. Because I get more free games, and even with PlayStation's like service where you get games and you can stream them or download them or whatever. Those are godsends because it means I can try games that otherwise I may have tried before, but I've tightened the purse strings now. You've seen my profiles. I'm not playing games like I used to. I don't have the game du jour each week on my system anymore, right? Like, this is arguably going to be one of the first games that I'm buying not on sale. And even then I get 10% off because I do have an EA subscription. But I'm 100% buying the Star Wars Survivor on PlayStation because of the DualSense, right? And the fact is that the Xbox is having a lot of difficulty keeping up to the frame rates that the PS5 is doing. So, yeah, exactly. Alex is pointing out Rocksteady used to be a name to trust. And this is such a weird departure for them, right? They have an ironclad reputation within the community with their Arkham games. And this is just, come on, guys. Like, the live service is it's so passe. Why don't you put NFTs in it?
Oh my God. Here's a game. Here's a game idea. Live service game where it's an open world game where the entire point of view is buying loot boxes.
That'll be The Division by Ubisoft, the new one that's free to play.
or what that exec said, that amazing Battlefield 3 game that was supposed to come out.
Yeah, or I'm gonna pin this all on
You know,
Ubisoft though. That sea of that pirate game that's being eternally delayed. That's gonna have that all over it. That's its marketing plan. I can guarantee you.
oh my God. My God. My God. We've
My
been burned so many times. I got so burned for Battlefront, the first one on PS4. 4.
I gave up on that franchise. I had to give up on Call of Duty. I was playing Call of Duty on the 2 or 3 years ago. And you know me, I only play the campaign mode. And here I am playing the campaign and it goes, "Oh, hang on. You have a 200 gigabyte update." Whatever. It was 100 gigabytes or something. It was an outrageous. It was a whole new game. I'm like, I just want to play the campaign. I don't need a new map, and it wouldn't let me do anything in that game until. So I'm like, oh, this thing's online all the time. Forget it. I'm done. I'm never buying this title again.
Yep.
My blood pressure got better as a result.
Here's the thing, though. Consumers, right? Let's go going back to this whole consumer conversation and live services than video games. I like focusing on video games. It's something that our listeners can relate to. It's something that you and I can speak relatively smart about.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Then you have the other side of the coin where some consumers who aren't really consumers won't consume this stuff, review bomb stuff. Have you seen what's going on with Horizon Forbidden West?
Oh, I can only imagine because they had an expansion come out last week, Burning Shores.
Huge ass expansion, Burning Shores. Right now, it's at a 2.7 out of 10 Metacritic score because it's being completely bombed.
Why do people hate that game? They used to love it.
Right?
Hey,
But-
guess what? When it goes on sale, I'll buy it.
Here's the thing, though. At this point, do reviews mean shit?
Yeah, I think we've covered this before. Reviews, especially ones from the internet. Like, look, how can anyone properly review a huge ass expansion? Like review a huge ass expansion in 3 days, right? There should be a moratorium on anybody. Like, look how they tried to sync The Last of Us 2 and whatnot. We talked about that before, where it's like people are coming back now. Well, after I got unangry, I waited a year and then I went back and played it, and it was a pretty good game. Oh, geez, people. So why did he review bomb it then? Like, it's the sales numbers. Fortunately, don't reveal that truth, right? They're review bombing it, but we've all got thick skin now. We all just go, hey, guess what? I'm gonna buy it anyway because it looked good. I bought into the marketing. I bought into the bullcrap. I'm not gonna trust these people because everything now is looked at cynically. Oh, they're just review bombing it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's being review bombed for being woke. Wow.
Yep, it is. Yep. There was a gay kiss, I believe, in that game somewhere.
Who cares?
So it's like
Ashley Birch.
Last of Us 2. It just reminds me a lot of Last of Us 2, right?
Ashley Birch is voicing Alloy in that. She's kind of gay. That's okay. She's bi.
People are, I don't know, I just don't understand it, man. I just do not understand it.
I don't get it either. But hey, that's why we're old men. I'm way more tolerant now than I guess I would have been in the 90s. But it doesn't feel bad right now. It feels pretty good to be accepting that. Oh, guess what? That floats your boat. Doesn't really do much for me. Like, but I'll still play the game or watch the content or whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
as long as it's good content and the writing's good and the production quality is high and the gameplay is fun, I'm gonna play the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't agree with that, but I don't know if you do, maybe you need to listen to a different show.
Yep. All right. Let's talk some movies. Domestic chart for this weekend. Super Mario Brothers, the movie, is still number one after 3 weeks, after grossing 130,940, which this makes it week number 3, and they're inching closer and closer to $1 billion.
Awesome. Well, it just means they're going to make more, which, fun nostalgia, like we discussed.
I still haven't seen it. Have you?
No, I have not. I'm looking forward to John Wick 4 being on digital, and I know you haven't watched any John Wick.
No, nothing.
It's a good show.
I was going to last week, but yeah, I still haven't.
It's not a bad show. I can't say anything bad about it. They're smart with those movies.
Yeah, Evil Dead was number 2 with 24,504,000. Like the difference between the two is crazy.
Yeah, well,
I kind of want to watch this.
Oh, I'm not knocking on the horror thing. I'm just saying it's a smaller audience because Dad's taking the kids to go see Nostalgia Mario and buying the popcorn and the pop and making an event out of it is not, let's go watch some Evil Dead. You know what I mean? Like that's a movie that's going to appeal to adult audiences that have the ability to get into it. I don't know if it's AA or R. I'm assuming R with the way that these movies are made. So that instantly cuts your audience. That's what makes movies like Deadpool the unicorn, so to speak, because it actually got a marketplace that was over 18 into the theater en masse. That usually doesn't happen with R-rated films.
Yeah.
So good for them coming in too.
Yeah.
Hey, Mario's going to get dethroned probably by Guardians.
You think so?
I think there's big potential, especially if some of the buzz around that movie is, it being James Gunn's last Marvel production or last Guardians movie. I think that there's a lot of curiosity in the fan base, but it is Marvel, and Marvel are flailing lately. So
yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me to see this. Guardians take the box office the first week, and then Mario retake it the next week.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, I just think that there's a play in there for humbling of Disney and a continued strong Nintendo presence.
Humbling of Disney. Put that on a shirt. The humbling of Disney. In the back, Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah. She's going to be there after I'm dead.
Seems so, huh? Yeah, Guardians is next Friday. That's crazy. I forgot about. I was just thinking right now as you were talking.
Yeah, I've seen the premiere stuff all over the place, so I'm like, that's a thing now because they're releasing the little 30-second commercial trailers, and they're building up. Get your tickets now and all that. So it's around the corner.
I'm gonna probably go in the afternoon, see what's going on, watch it at some point. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. We don't talk about this too much. You and I talk about this offline, but we don't really talk offline anymore. And it's been a while since we've had this discussion. And now you're wondering, oh my God, what is he talking about?
Yep.
The U.S. government is declassifying more mysterious UFO videos. And today, the head of the Space Force essentially said that we are going to be facing non-Earth threats soon. What the fuck is going on?
Well, that's unsettling. I gotta go work on my tinfoil hat right now.
Right? I'm trying to find the exact quote. Yeah, military threats in space are growing substantially, he said.
The Gray War is upon us.
Ever watch Robotech Macross?
Oh, yeah. Or how about V?
V, they're already here.
They're already here, baby. It's Invisible Invasion or whatever.
Secret Wars. That's this summer by Marvel.
Yeah. Might be on point. Who knows? The mouse has ESP.
The mouse. They're trying to tell us something. They're just trying to tell us something. No, but this is always an interesting subject, right? But it's crazy just how much in the past 5 years, they've gone from you guys are crazy to well to
Yeah,
all right, we're gearing up for something.
80% of it is weather balloons, but it's the 20% that scare the crap out of me, right? Like Tom DeLonge from Blink 182 and Angels and Airwaves. That guy's on cloud 9 right now because he's getting all this declassified information. I even caught a little bit of his Name That Shall Not Be Said show, and he had Howie Mandel on, and they were talking, and they were showing a UFO clip on that a model had taken in like a little two-seater plane or something with her phone, and it was creepy ass stuff. And like the analysis that I was seeing was like, with the speed, velocity, and this and that and the other thing. It's everybody's got a video camera now, but as well, all of this distortion is possible because it's almost impossible to understand wind movement and whatnot and get the full context of these videos. So all you see is this little, vertical TikTok type video of some weird silver disc flying at a 45-degree angle. And you don't really know the context because that plane is moving and things like that. So it is a really tricky subject, but I know that the media got really hyped up about this because they kept on referring to those air balloons the weather balloons that they were shooting down has unidentified flying objects, right? So
They are technically
in a
until
way
they
that
can
stokes
confirm.
a fire.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And a lot of this is that, right? So we'll see what's it's crazy. Like
Hey.
I honestly, the reason why I bring it up, it's because you're seeing this more and more and more on these tech sites, and more engineers basically saying,
It's in the mainstream now, whereas it used to be on the fringe. It can be a fun topic to think about, but one of my books that I have in my collection, I was packing away and changing up some stuff, but was the history of the end of the world. And it was all the times that the end of the world was to be predicted, and it was a history of that, right? And I remember actually reading that book and just laughing my butt off because I read it around the time of 2012 when all those doomsday predictions were on, right? And we had, the nuclear power plant in Japan melting down and all this stuff. And yeah, guess what? The world didn't end. It's akin to Kathleen Kennedy leaving Lucasfilm. It's this big MacGuffin. It's just no, it's not happening. That's how I sleep at night.
Speaking of Kathleen Kennedy, let's talk some Mandalorian.
Oh, sure. I'm game for that. The season finale.
Season finale. Go ahead.
Episode 7 had probably the most epic crescendo of Star Wars chatter I've seen in a while. All right, everybody who had sworn off in this project was coming out of their woodwork. I even saw Gina Carano speculating. I kid, but it was like everybody was like, the armorer is a traitor. No, it's Alex, the wolf guy is a traitor. No, it's this person, because they use the word spies. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, there's two ways of interpreting that title. It's just about spies, plural, or it's about specific spies. But it's vague because it's just called The Spies. So the internet went crazy with speculation. And speculation means expectation. So I was talking with a friend of mine, Lydia, and I said to her, she was all hot to trot on the armorer. And I said to her, it's possible from what I see online that maybe, like, first of all, we had that, like, for me, it was garbage of Grogu being in IG-11 or IG-12, but there's nothing
Okay,
like
hold on.
taking
As
your
that was
nanny
happening,
and inhabiting the body of your nanny. There's nothing more morbid.
Freaky Friday. Here's the thing. Star Wars did a Freaky Friday. No, as I saw Grogu going into that robot, I'm like, oh, Phil is loving every second of this.
Yeah. I was okay with it once it was, because I understood that the story was going to go somewhere where that was needed. So I was thankful for it in episode 8, because then you could do this. But I told my friend Lydia, I said, it's one of two things. Either the armor is playing dirty pool here and is outing the other Mandalorians, like the Bo-Katan's group, and trying to negotiate a save for her Death Watch buddies, or it's bad writing. Well, I don't want to spoil episode 8 for anybody who hasn't, or last episode for anybody who hasn't watched it yet. But let's just say it was bad writing. So,
Well, because a lot of
the
people
bad
thought
writing
that.
continued.
Yeah, because a lot of people thought that the armor was part of the traditionalists, right?
Yeah, and you know, I'm okay with her not being part of that. I'm okay with the story being told of what they want to tell. The speculation right now is coming out, and I put a heavy asterisk of speculation on this, because apparently Tamara Morrison was doing a Comic-Con in Australia or New Zealand this past weekend. And of course, somebody on Reddit has come forward with, well, he did a Q&A, and this is essentially what he said. And then they summarize it, but they say it's verified. I don't know if Tamara Morrison was joking. I don't know if he actually said this stuff, but he basically said because of the cutbacks in Disney during Book of Boba Fett, he was supposed to originally be in the book, or in The Mandalorian season 3, and he never got the call. And he's bitter about that. And I'm like, okay, fair. You know, the other speculation is that Disney have interfered with the writing of this show, where they forced the 2 episodes of The Mandalorian into Book of Boba Fett to undo the damage of giving Grogu to Luke, because they were making too much money off of Grogu product.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed to rewrite season 3. And Jon Favreau was so annoyed. This is the speculation, and I believe about 1/10 of it, if I had to lean anything into this. But the speculation is that he just kind of gave up trying to write a well-written story because it felt like the execs were writing it. Now, all that being said, I watched Star Wars Celebration. I watched John on stage with Kathleen. There was absolutely no tension between them.
Exactly.
So I have to think like a lot of this is just, there's probably budgetary cuts or shortcuts that had to be made, or they're being stretched too thin. I think the answer as to why things are a little not as good as they could be is because they're trying too much and they're stretched too thin. You got Dave Filoni over making Ahsoka, which looks absolutely incredible, but trailers look incredible. You have Skeleton Crew going on. You have all this stuff that's kind of coming together. I felt like Mando this season ended with a nice little bow. It was like we tied up the loose ends. Like now we can use Mando however we want. If we want him to drop into Ahsoka with Grogu, we can have them drop into Ahsoka with Grogu. Do we want to have them, get another season? Yeah, or they could not. And that's the 3 seasons of Mando, right? And they can just use them as they want in other Mandoverse things. It's they're in a good position with almost all of their characters in all of the world at this point.
Yep. The ending was perfect, right? The fact that it had a proper ending, the fact that it didn't have a post-credit scene setting something else up, I felt like it was, like you said, that bow on The Mandalorian, and I really did enjoy that. But I think the biggest complaint from this season of The Mandalorian, and it's our complaint, we've talked about this, for Star Wars and for the MCU, and that's the fact that it sometimes feels like there's just so many storylines that are, and it feels like a big commercial for other stuff.
Yeah, I found that that's an issue. I found that the pacing was an issue in this season. I felt like episode 6 with Jack Black and Lizzo.
I love that. I love that one.
I felt like that episode it could have not been there, and it still would have been a good season.
It felt like season 1. That random episode with that random side adventure that still ties into the bigger story.
Yeah, I'm okay with it existing like that. No, I did enjoy the ending of it.
And it reminded me of like what could have been a awesome Mass Effect series.
Yep. As well, I don't know why we spent all that time getting Grogu with the sigil in the Beskar plate on his chest, only to have him walk around in a giant robot and be untouchable in that. Like, it would have been cool if Praetorian Guard actually got, you know, a spear, a vibro blade onto that, and then have that rebuff and serve a purpose. Because we spent like a whole episode getting that made. There was a lot of weird writing choices. I'm just like, as much as I want to say everything sewed up at the end, it didn't, because there are a lot of untied things. But that's Star Wars, right? Like, at the end of the day, even when it's bad, it's good. It's like pizza.
Yeah.
So
It's, you know what, so with the chest plate, that was like Chekhov's gun, right? Like, you just don't, why introduce it if it's not going to be used later on?
yeah, I don't understand putting that much screen time to something, right? They gave IG 11 the screen time that they needed to in order to get them moved to IG 12, right? They did that pretty fast. They did that at a pretty weird drum beat. They made R5D4 relevant again. They did that pretty fast. Like, I don't know, was that guy just chilling on Mandalore? It's there's a lot of weird stuff in this, that a lot of details that they didn't really focus on, that just had me questioning, because all of a sudden in episode 8, jetpacks can fly forever, but in the episode with the dragons, jetpacks have a very limited range. So this time, a Mandalorian can go from the Mandalore surface all the way through this chop, all the way up to a Star Destroyer, and still have
They added extra
fuel.
gas. Calm down, tranquilo.
It just made me laugh. I'm like,
I know.
okay,
No, but it's
I'm
true.
just suspending belief now. It's Star Wars at this point, right? It's like complaining about The Last of Us and the science behind the zombies. It's like, well, guess what? It's zombies. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm like, I love it when good writing's good, but I get it when bad writing can be a little bit weird, or writing that's a little bit suspect. It's not necessarily bad, but
Lazy. You know what? It comes down to it being lazy writing, for lack of a better term.
yes, very much so. I don't know if maybe there's a strike. I can't remember.
There is a high possibility of a writer's strike coming to Hollywood again.
Oh no, that means the Mandalorian's going to become heroes. Remember that? We loved it so much, and then it got to be crap for a third season, and we're like, what the hell's going on?
Or Lost. Lost was also derailed after the original writer's strike.
Oh,
but Heroes, I think Heroes was the biggest kick in the proverbial gonads.
Oh, Heroes was just toilet flush. But I'll admit, just like you have never seen John Wick, any of the films, I haven't watched Lost.
Dude, I watched Lost years after. I watched Lost with Mike years after it came out, and we binged it. Like, I hate to admit this, to the point where we called in sick to work just to continue throughout the day.
Stranger Things. That was me.
Fucking hate that show. I don't get it. I don't get Stranger Things.
For me was great. I enjoyed the 80s because I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
That resonated with me, going like BMXing over to somebody's house, playing D&D, wanting to play D&D. I wasn't allowed to play D&D. My mom specifically forbade me from having any of the books. My most hidden possession that I had was my copy of Lord of the Rings, which I still have to this day. It wasn't pornography. Oh no, it was the fact that I had a copy of Lord of the Rings. That was what I had to hide in special hiding places around my house.
You know you're a geek, Wed.
Yeah, because my mom thought it was satanic. So.
Sure. What would she have thought of Harry Potter?
I know, right? And that's what makes me laugh now. I'm like, okay. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen Harry Potter.
I read the first book back in 1999. That was it. Watched the first two movies. That was it.
I think I watched the first movie. I think I fell asleep in the second movie and then I never bothered. So
Yeah, sounds about right. But yeah, Mandalorian. So overall, thumbs up or thumbs down with this season?
I'll give it a silly thumbs up. Put it that way. I kind of feel like doing that, like not down. But it definitely didn't live up to expectation, and I had no expectation. It stumbled more than it succeeded for me. But I'm not gonna crap on it because any Star Wars is good. But let's
I
just
think
put
you
it
just
this way.
spent the past 15 minutes crapping on it.
I did like things. I liked some of the ships. I liked some of the special effects. I thought the battles were a lot better. I thought the Darksaber looked great. I thought that the Praetorian Guards were fantastic. I liked the wrinkle with Moff Gideon and sewing up that. I like the introduction of Thrawn. I like the introduction. There was some deep canon cuts with Hux's father on that
Yes.
Shadow Circle and Thrawn's right-hand man in that general that was going on, and he was getting called out about Thrawn's not around. And it's like, oh, that guy's going to come around to screw everybody in Ahsoka. There's a lot of setup here that went into it that I am extremely looking forward to. But it's easy to harp on it, right? Like,
So
it was no Andor. It was no Andor.
you know what I want? I am what this Mandalorian season 3 just teased me, just tickled my balls a little bit about the whole political situation in the galaxy right now.
Yeah, and Andor does that too. That was a great thing. Seeing Mon Mothma is still around and whatnot. Like, oh, there's so many things here that are, because she's in the Ahsoka trailer, so it takes place at the same time. So I like the Mandoverse. That's what I'm getting at. Maybe the Mandalorian season 3 didn't succeed, but in my expectations, but I like where they're going with stuff. I like that Moff Gideon is dead and we can get on to Thrawn. They've already soft introduced him. They've shown us the back of his head in a trailer. They've shown the people at Celebration his face. Mickelson's coming in. It's confirmed.
Yep.
So, it's happening, and that's going to be the big baddie until Kylo and Snoke get on the scene. Right? So the Chiss are here, baby. This is the heir to the Empire rollout. This is
It
a
is.
big deal for a lot of us EU fans and whatnot, and Legends fans. This is a big deal, and it's fun to see the ride that we've been on because I don't know what the lifespan of a Chiss is. I think it's a few hundred years. So that means like this guy has worked with Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars. There are episodes of that. There are books regarding that. So he was reintroduced in Rebels, and we've got him continuing his arc and conveniently disappeared for the OG trilogy. So I do like that we're going to get into the sinister guy. That's an exciting spot for me as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And for our audience. I think that, don't give up on it. I think Ahsoka is going to be the litmus test at this point.
And for those of you,
Andor season 2 is probably going to be pretty out of the park.
Next week, we're going to talk all things Star Wars because it is going to be our May the 4th episode coming up next week. We're going to talk all the Lego, all the releases, where the comics, movies. We're just going to geek out all things Star Wars. That's next week. Just remember also that we are going to be talking all things Mandalorian Season 3 on the Mandalorian Season 3 special. That's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks. And Phil, I think this is a perfect segue to let our listeners know how and where they can find us.
You can track us down at www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can look us up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts. Really, anywhere you find podcasts, you're going to find the It's Canon Podcast. We're also on patreon.com/SNME Radio. And we're also on YouTube and other platforms coming soon. And you can also track us down on social media by the names that you see on screen, Palpatine Phil and BR Aguilar. So if you like what you heard, please smash that like button if you're on YouTube. Leave a comment and tell your friends about the show. Thanks so much for all of you taking the time to join us on the It's Canon Podcast.
honestly, it really does mean a lot to me, just because I know that everyone leads busy lives, so that you can give us a slice of your time. It honestly does mean a lot to me. Phil, always a pleasure. And thank you all for listening to the latest episode of the It's Canon podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things geek, all things video games, all things books, all things movies, all things Lego, all things Star Wars, all things UFOs, privacy laws, etc., 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 etc. Thank you so much. He's Phil. I'm Boris. Tyler, we'll see you soon. Goodbye.